Kleinberg, and this is Something Went Horribly Wrong, a blog about bad writing and how to fix it. Happy New Year! We're starting our third year. Segment 52, Anachronisms. Do you still dial the phone in your wet bathing suit? Get out of the house. You're ruining the carpet. Every day people use anachronisms, words and phrases that once made sense but don't anymore. We've dealt with some of these in previous segments. Sometimes the usage technically isn't wrong, but the horribly wrong team believes you would benefit by weaning yourself off all of them. We acknowledge that in most cases, we've lost the battle. First, bathing suit. Remarkably, it was the beginning of the 19th century before ocean swimming became popular in the United States. Naturally, people couldn't do it in street clothes, but rules of modesty were in vogue at the time. Women originally wore a full-sleeved dress and leggings, which tended to defeat the goal of cooling off. This contraption was called a bathing suit. Nowadays, no one at the beach or the pool is bathing. That used to describe any time in the water, but now it has come to mean only immersion for purposes of soaping up. Women now wear one or two-piece outfits, often barely legal, but for lack of a better term, swimsuit still would be acceptable. Men's garb properly should be called swim shorts, unless they're wearing what amounts to nylon panties, which not a suit. Glove compartment, roll down your window. Early cars were open to the elements. A ride in the country on a brisk winter's day could range from uncomfortable to injurious. Drivers traditionally kept gloves in the cars to help them manage a frigid steering wheel. We suspect few people still store gloves in their glove compartment, but unlike some of our other examples, we suspect some, especially in northern climates, still do. And for decades, windows were raised and lowered by circular cranks. Windows are electronic now, but the nomenclature stuck. Next, reviewing the company books or cooking the books. A few of our loyal readers suggest some small businesses still do their accounting by hand in big ledgers. We suspect most use a computer. Next, filming. We have dealt with this in previous segments. Filming refers to recording something on actual film. But while dialing or tuning refer to practices no longer used and thus are understood to be colloquial, some people still use film. So you really shouldn't use it unless someone really is using film. Webster's Dictionary has ruled it acceptable, but the horribly wrong team is about clarity. Now, taped as a colloquial really no longer works either, since virtually nothing is recorded on magnetic tape, but rather on memory cards like these. So you could say recorded or shot. You certainly don't film something live. You broadcast or you stream it live. Now, this anachronism also is behind another one. You have heard sportscasters refer to the highlight reel. Well, before video, team staffers and news crews shot sports on film, which of course was run through projectors on a reel. When they wanted to splice together a collection of the best plays, that's what they called it, the highlight reel. Carbon copy. Now, you might remember the scene in the movie Office Space in which the guys smashed a printer. The precursor to printers was photocopiers, which have been around only in the lifetime of the horribly wrong team. Current printers and photocopiers use standard papers, but early photocopiers were clunky and copied onto thermal paper, a thin paper on a roll that was coated in some kind of chemical which ruined your day if you rubbed a page and then actually touched your tongue. Well, before that, way back in Charles Dickens' era, firms employed scriveners to laboriously rewrite documents. Typewriters were a game changer, but you still had to retype copies. In the early 20th century came carbon paper. It was a sheet coated in pigment and oil that was placed between two regular sheets of paper, and the 3 pages were rolled into the typewriter. A keystroke banged through the first sheet into the carbon paper, which marked the same character on the second sheet of paper. Voila! Of course, you ended your day with black streaks all over your hand, face, and white dress shirt. Documents often had a note at the bottom saying something such as CC, personnel. That meant a carbon copy went to the personnel office, which is what it was called before pinheads invented the term human resources. Wouldn't a toenail be a human resource? So when photocopiers made carbon paper obsolete, the phrase carbon copy stuck. So did CC. Go check your email and you'll see what I mean. Next, icebox. Before electric refrigerators, food was kept cold in something that looked like a refrigerator does now, but it didn't plug in. Instead, a big block of ice was placed inside. An iceman delivered it. You could argue that the cooler you use for your tailgate or the beach is an icebox, although it likely uses cubes instead of a big block. Next, record album. Well, the first records were low-quality discs that had to be played at a high speed to get good sound. At first, it was a swift 78 revolutions per minute. Ooh. The singles that teens bought in the 1950s turned at 45 RPM. Technology later allowed for large, long-playing LP records that could play at just 33 RPM and hold several songs per side while still being faithful to the quality of the original. High fidelity. That was shortened to hi-fi, which later inspired Wi-Fi. Now, that early 78 RPM technology required people to buy a set of dozens of discs to enjoy even an hour-long performance. They were presented in large books whose pages had pockets into which the discs were stored for convenience and protection. The books resembled portrait albums. Now, these days, it's not even a physical anything, but a collection of songs still is called an album. Next time, more anachronisms. I'm Elliot Kleinberg. Visit www.ekfla.com. That's ekfla.com.